How many times, if you were to actually think about it, do you wish that you could go back a few years, possibly about 10 years, and tell your younger self something that you know now when it comes to the management of money? And a lot of talks are now centering around possible requirement for introducing financial education into the curriculum for school-going children. Let's talk about this in a little bit more detail. What you can do at home for your children. Join me to talk about this is Bharvi Avlani, who is the founder of kidsmoneysmart.com. And we've also got Binal Gandhi, who is an author, and she's the Chief Executive Officer of the Learning Curve Academy. Thank you so much to the both of you for joining in. I want to start, and I will take the question to the both of you because I think this really is the central idea that we're trying to get. Is it important to start educating children from a young age? How young is too young? And why is it important? I'll come to you first, Bharvi. What do you have to say?
Okay, as you already said, if I knew then of what I know now, exactly the crux on why should we be teaching kids about financial literacy or just making them aware about money, finance, or wealth. I have a very short example to go about. Let's say you have a sewing box and there is a needle. If it gets lost, it's very difficult to find that thin and tiny needle. But if there is a thread that's gone by and if you have that needle around and that's got lost, it's going to be very quick and easy for you to find out. In a similar way, if the child, when he grows up and he gets into the world, he's going to be as confused as we were when we went because we knew nothing about finances. So if they know basics about financial literacy or they know a little about money management, the thread has already passed by. It's going to be very easy for the child to know and sustain. And that's why I believe financial literacy for kids is very, very important. I'll take it to Binal, yes.
No, I'll go to her. I'm feeling glad, Bharvi, that I learned how to sew in school, so I know what you're talking about. Once you've threaded the needle, it's easy to find, right? Binal, I'll come to you. How early is too early? And would you also agree with what Bharvi was saying?
I absolutely agree with her. So, money is a taboo topic in so many of our homes. And what happens is when kids grow up and start making their first paycheck in their 20s, they have no clue what to do with their money. And so they learn by making mistakes. And sometimes these mistakes can be, big ones too, like taking on too much debt. So, starting your financial education journey early is really important. In fact, we run a financial education program called Finance Gym, and I've interacted with thousands of young people through that program. And what I've continually seen is that students who understand the importance of money management come from homes where these conversations are encouraged and where money habits are inculcated at an early age. So absolutely, financial education journey should start at an early age.
I take that point. And okay, when you're talking about early age, it makes sense. But I want a number because I think a lot of our viewers tuning in perhaps have kids that are just about starting going to school, 5, 6, 7 years old. They don't really understand the concept. And I think if I'm not mistaken, you've written about it, Binal.
Yes.
You've talked about the fact that kids ask questions about whether or not money gets printed from a printer at home, right? But I'll come to you after this. Bharvi, what age, according to you, is the right age to start, and how do you start having those conversations?
Okay, so Warren Buffett sir himself said that it could be as easy as preschool to start with your kid. When I do Money Smart classes and we do the financial literacy program, the enrollments start for kids who are at age 6 and beyond. So why is age 6 the perfect age? Because they are in first grade, they know numbers between 1 to 10, and you could start with as easy as money recognition. You could teach them what is value of money. There are no words like rich or poor. They should know what's value of money. They know how to spend, needs versus wants, and they get an idea about basics of banking. Like there is something like a debit card, and you earn money with hard work, time, energy. And so basic concepts like these can be started at the age of 6, and we can take them up to 15 years of age till they don't enter school. So they learn through age wise about from 6 to 8, 8 to 12, or 12 to 15 about concepts that are age specific and perfect for them.
Binal,
Now, when you ask me how
I'll
should
come
you
to
do
that.
it,
I'll come to that in just a bit. Because
okay.
I think that is also an important leg of this conversation, how to keep a child engaged when you're talking about something that could be pretty dreary, right, if you're talking about money. But Binal, I'll come to you first. Is 6 a good age to start, and why?
Yes, actually, it's a good age because there's a lot of research that has been done that shows that money habits like self control, delaying gratification, they all start as early as age 6 or 7. So that's definitely a good age to get your kids started on their financial education journey. And you can do this through giving them practical experience. So, for example, giving them a small amount of pocket money at this age is a good idea. And once you give it, you can follow the what I call the SSG model, which is first you set aside. So SSG stands for save, spend, and give. So as soon as they're given a small amount of pocket money, you can set aside a little bit of money to save, and then a little more to give, and then what is remaining, spend that. So the kids are learning how to save, how to spend, how to give at a very early age, but through practical experience.
That's interesting. I want to delve a little deeper into SSG because it seems like an interesting concept. I have a sibling that is barely 2 years older than I am, and we were taught very early the importance of sharing, right? Because that's something that comes very naturally. You tend to say, no, this is mine, I don't want to share it. And that was obvious in the food that was served because my favorites were always mine, right? But the point is, how do you get kids to do this practically? It's easier said than done, isn't it, Binal?
Yeah, that's true. It is easier said than done. The first step is to do it regularly. So when you give them pocket money, do not give it to them every month. Give it to them on a weekly basis. So again, it's about building these habits, and those happen slowly over time. So once you give them money on a weekly basis, you could give them 3 jars or 3 envelopes, and they can set aside their savings in one of those jars, their giving money in another jar, and then their spending money they can spend, right? And once they've collected some amount of giving money, it's very important to get them involved in a cause. Maybe it's a cause that you believe in, and as they grow older, they can choose their own cause. So getting them involved at an early age will definitely help them get engaged and understand and build their confidence when it comes to money.
Because I guess when they're seeing what the money that they're giving does, they realize the implications of that when they're giving, right? I'll come to you, Bharvi, on this next point, which is when it comes to telling kids about something that can be as serious about as money, the problem is that you may not be able to hold their attention for long. You probably get 10 seconds at the most, and then they're looking at the butterfly that's passing by. So how do you make it engaging? How do you keep their attention?
Okay, so for a fun joke, you can maybe the followers and the viewers could follow me on Instagram where I give them regular tips. But coming to the main point, there are only 2 ways in which you can catch a child's attention. Fun is either through games, or the second one is stories. When you're doing games, they actually get the practical experience of it, as Binal said. So now when you're doing the games, you could set up a family bazaar every Sunday morning where you just write on chips. Like say there is Maggie a packet, then there is a charity that you have to give 10 rupees to a stray dog for biscuits. And you could set up a bazaar where there are few things they like, few things they don't like. And every Sunday they're going to shop from your bazaar. You give them the money that they need to shop from. So they will first learn that they have to spend and they have to save as well, and they have to share as well. So they will learn between them on how to budget, how to choose between their needs, wants, and then they'll be able to do all the three, which is spend, share, and save and give. So it make games as interactive as they could be. You could do jigsaw puzzles online where they are setting up notes for younger kids, or you could basically have spin the wheels or stuff like that, where they are inclined to games at all the time, and because of which they'll get practical experience. And the second one is stories. Now when you say stories, they are very good when it comes to conversation starters amongst your family members. So once you, let's say, reading a story, and from that story it's going to help you start a conversation about money and help you teach a concept. So there are only two ways to go about with kids. It's either through games or either through stories.
Okay. Binal, where do you come in on this? Because I have memories from, if I'm not mistaken, vague memories from the 90s of the Game of Life, which I think, if I'm not mistaken, involved some element of monetary transactions. There's also Monopoly, which I think a lot of families use, but they don't cover all of the aspects that you spoke about, right? Because there's no sharing and there's no giving. It's mostly about who can earn the most money and most quickly, right? How do you gamify this?
Yeah, so lots of different ways of doing this. So games are a great way to start when the kids are younger. But as they grow older, getting them involved in some of the household decisions becomes a fun way for the kids. Anyways, the kids want to grow up and get involved, and they want to know what their parents are doing. So for example, if you plan on buying something, making a large purchase for your house, like a television, then get the kids involved in making that decision. Show them how you do comparison shopping. Show them how you compare features and how you, decide the trade-offs between the features and the costs. This, keeps it interesting for the kids. You can also, when you go on vacation, you can help tell them to help you to plan the vacation. When it comes to investing, there are lots of things that you can do with the kids to keep them engaged as they grow older. So, for example, they can set up a virtual portfolio, and this really does keep them engaged, and they are learning how to invest when you keep it fun through virtual money. So, for example, in their every day, there are so many companies that impact their life, right? Starting from brushing your teeth, you've got Colgate, and then, the list goes on and on. So talking to them about these companies, that they're public and that they could invest in them through their virtual portfolio, is a great way to get them interested in investing and to get them started down that journey.
It's very interesting because I remember this Jeffrey Archer book which spoke about one character which maintained, there was the son of a banker that maintained this diary for many years, and he'd tally up the results of what stocks were doing well or what currencies were doing well, right? So Bharvi, I'll come to you on this next point, because as long as we're talking about it, while there are do's that we've spoken about, there are also don'ts that we need to speak about. What should parents avoid doing when it comes to talking about money so that you can avoid these money habits that people come to regret later in life?
Okay. One would be, there would be 4 quick tips that I would like to share on this. The first one would be, parents should avoid giving kids instantly. the moment they provide them everything instantly, there is no concept of delayed gratification, and they will never be able to control impulse control or self control. So, the first one would be parents should avoid giving kids everything instantly. The second would be, usually as parents who are up, who have kids who are younger age, they always ask them to save the entire money that they receive from anybody on birthdays or any occasions. So my second tip would be, parents, don't ask your kids to save the entire amount. We want to make kids who know how to spend smart and save wise. So don't ask your kids to save entirely. The third tip would be, don't keep swiping cards in front of your kids. Because the first thing that happens when you keep swiping cards is that kids start believing that it's as easy to earn money as it is to swipe. And second, because they don't see real cash that's coming in or going out, they fail to understand concepts related to money. So don't swipe it as often as you can. And the fourth one would be, don't argue or fight for money among family members. So as much as it is good to, make them sit while discussing your family budgets or family trips or taking their help to plan birthdays, make sure you don't argue on concepts related to money or fight for money in the family. That would be four basic quick tips to go about. The next would be conscious. Don't always try to be like, hey, I want to make my kid money savvy. Just go with the flow and they will know it all.
Right.
And when they're borrowing, so usually there are parents who have a lot of borrowings or don't have borrowings. Always make sure that you always keep using the words good borrower, bad borrower, because they know you are borrowing only money because you can repay it. Because otherwise they're always like, you can just borrow it, because the number of ads that come for loans is way more than anything
Absolutely.
else. So ask them that, yes.
Absolutely. And I'm sure that these are definitely things that can be used. Binal, I'll come to you very quickly. There are points that I'm sure that you would also bring to the table.
Yeah, sure. Parents, I always say, kids don't do what you say, but they do what you do. So becoming aware of our own behavior as parents is really important, because kids are watching us. So for example, if we're going to talk a lot about our neighbor's car or our neighbor's new home or clothes, they're going to learn to do that too. If we're going to habitually spend on an impulse, then they're going to learn that too. So becoming aware of our behavior when it comes to money is very important when it comes to our kids. And another thing that parents must avoid is overindulgence. So whereas all of us want to give our kids everything that we did not have when we were growing up, we want to make sure that we don't give them everything, because we do run that risk of raising entitled kids if we overindulge them all the time. So whereas we do want to give them everything, maintaining that balance and becoming aware that there is a risk when we overindulge our child of raising entitled children. We want to keep that balance going as parents.
I think a reward system has always worked. And if you've done well in school, perhaps, or if you've committed to doing something, you've done it, then a reward might work in that sense. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking to the both of you, and I hope that the points that you've raised are taken well, and we have a lot more young children that are better at managing their money, and this will hold them in good stead, of course. This is many years down the line, and hopefully we get to see that. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for inviting us.